Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. Today, we're diving into the science, soul, and stigma surrounding psychedelics, specifically psilocybin and ayahuasca, and their rapidly growing role in mental health treatment. With the FDA designating psilocybin as a breakthrough therapy for depression and clinical trials around ayahuasca showing promising results for PTSD and addiction, we're no longer asking if psychedelics can heal, but rather, how far can they take us? And speaking of healing, my guest today, expert on the microphone, is actor Johnny Messner. He's a healer and host of the Uncomfortable with Johnny Messner podcast. He's a living testament to the transformational power of these ancient plant medicines. Veteran Hollywood actor whose life unraveled into, let's just say, addiction, just like all of us, until Rhythmia entered the picture. Since his first visit in May of 2019, he's gone from shattered to whole, from seeker to guide. He's now a teacher and ambassador at Rhythmia, one of the world's most respected medically licensed plant medicine centers in Costa Rica. We're chatting from rock bottom to Rhythmia, how plant-based medicines heal traumas. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Oh, thanks for having me, Zen. It's so good to see you.
You are amazingly refreshing to have on. I love who you have become and the role that you have stepped into. Not only are you a friend of mine for a very long time, but I am so proud of everything that you have accomplished. So I just want to say that before we even get started.
Oh, it means a lot. Thanks so much, Mom.
Okay, now let's talk about some statistics. According to Johns Hopkins Medical Center, psilocybin-assisted therapy is now leading to a 71% reduction in major depressive disorder symptoms after just 2 sessions, Johnny. There's another study, 2022 study, published in Nature Medicine. Ayahuasca users reported significant and sustained reductions in trauma symptoms, even compared to conventional treatments. Now, Rhythmia Life Advancement Center in Costa Rica is the only medically licensed ayahuasca retreat in the world, hosting over 13,000 guests with a 95% reported life transformation rate. Talk to me about what drew you to Rhythmia.
Well, I mean, I was at, like you said, I was at my last hope. I didn't have any other options, to be honest. I had said just randomly that I would try ayahuasca. I really knew nothing about it. I just said it out loud. And then Catherine, my son's mom, was at Silver Lake Farmers Market. She had become friends with the gluten-free empanadas lady. And her brother had just done a documentary called The Medicine, and it was shot at Rhythmia. And she called Rhythmia, and Dr. McNary, who's the clinical supervisor, had known me through the addiction circles. He was a clinical supervisor at Passages. And he said, come on down. And so I 2 weeks later, I was on my way. I mean, I did get thrown off the plane for being drunk the first week I was supposed to be there, so I didn't really follow the dieta, but I was trying to save my life, and I didn't know anything else about it. I didn't do any research, and I spent 2 weeks there. And the last night, I got cracked open by Taito Juanito, who's like the number one shaman in the world, and my life started to change drastically at that moment.
Wow. And I know that you said you were willing to do whatever it took when you first arrived at Rhythmia, and this was back in 2019. Paint us a picture. What had your life become at that rock bottom moment, and what made you choose the psychedelic retreat over rehab? I know Kat was the catalyst. We love Kat. Big shout out to Kat. But why did you not go the traditional rehab route?
Well, I did. I did go the rehab route about 9 times, and that didn't do much, because the thing about rehab is it'll get you sober, but the wounds are still the wounds. The holes are still the holes, and you don't fill them there, and you don't heal them there. And so I just didn't have any other options. I was living in North Hollywood in a 1-bedroom in the barrio, basically by myself. My phone wasn't ringing, and all I was doing was going from my oxycodone prescription to alcohol to not feel to oxycodone, and it was like that vicious cycle. And I was definitely close to death. I was probably a few months from dying, is what I saw in the medicine, and my life had just completely was shot. You know, I was to whatever your bottom is, they can always go lower, and I don't think mine could have gone. I think death was the next lowest point. So.
Wow. There's still so much stigma surrounding psychedelics and even ayahuasca, yet here you are, not only healed, but teaching others. What was the very first moment during your ceremony where you thought, okay, something is changing?
It was that Thursday with Taita. The medicine likes to take you to your deepest fear, so to get rid of them, and mine was death at that time, and I had no connection to God or source or whatever universe, whatever you call it. I only prayed out of fear of if there was something after. And that moment, she took me into what I considered hell, and told me that I was never getting out, and I cracked. And when I cracked, they tied me down, and they were Taita was praying on me, and then I heard God come in and say, "I've always been with you. You've always been loved." And I just started. I could digress to like my 5-year-old self, and I was just crying with gratitude, and I just at that moment I realized that there is so much more. It was a knowing, and when you have that knowing, everything changes.
You made me tear up. I love you.
Love me too.
Okay, so more and more veterans, trauma survivors, and even CEOs are turning to plant medicine. According to MAPS, over 60% of PTSD patients no longer meet criteria after MDMA assisted therapy. Now,
Yes.
in your experience at Rhythmia, why do you think these plant medicines succeed where traditional approaches are failing?
I think because they get to the core. They get to the core of the issue. They get to the core of the trauma. They get to the core of the primal wound for some. Most of the time it's from most of the people 0 through 7 that creates a belief system in themselves that forms them throughout for the rest of their life. Not enough, unworthy, abandonment, all those issues. People pleasing and whatever that is. And the medicine goes in there and shows you who you are and who you become, and then also shows you at the same time that you're none of those things, right? You're just all love, all perfect, and those things were just part of your plan. I believe that with the PTSD and the veterans and things like that, she removes all of those memories and fears that they've been holding on to, and lets them know that none of those are them. And once that you have that understanding, it becomes so much easier to release them.
I love it. Arrhythmia isn't just a detox or a spiritual escape. It's a medically licensed center blending indigenous wisdom with Western safety protocols, which makes me feel so much more comfortable, right? And as someone who's now a teacher there, what makes this integration model so effective?
Well, number one is because we have a very intense intake process to make sure that everybody's ready for when they come in. So once they get there, they have the best chance possible. Also, we have the classes, and the classes are so important because it teaches you how to work with the medicine. It teaches you, nobody knows what your experience is going to be because it's very specifically tailor made to you. But we give you the guidance to walk through all of these things, and also the love that is in that container. It's just amazing. The medicine family, that team that's up there week in and week out with 70, 90 people coming in with, nobody's skipping into Rhythmia, right? So it's not like everybody's like, it's heavy duty stuff. And they can hold that Maloka in such a space of love. It's just incredible to watch the transformation. So you're just held.
I love it. And there's a moment that stands out in every healing journey, right? A breakthrough, a vision, a release, if you will. Can you share that moment for you, the one where you knew you would never go back?
Oh yeah. So the medicine had come in and she told me that first of all, she told me, look, all of the spirits of drugs and alcohol will be leaving you, right? It's gonna be first one in, last one to go. And the first one in for me was alcohol. So she had getting throughout my journey, she had gotten rid of all the other ones, and when I mean getting rid of it, she healed those parts of the wound where I didn't have the need to disconnect from anything in life. I didn't want to, and excuse me. But I remember I was still drinking, and I had I'd been at the Rhythmia as a guest, and the medicine was saying, hey, you're walking a fine line with the alcohol, it could all go away. And then I had gotten a movie in Romania. And it was on my 50th birthday that I was in Romania, April 2019. I was sitting at a bar. It looked like I ate myself. I was doing a bootleg movie with Steven Seagal. And the next month I went to Rhythmia for the first time. Now it's 3 years later. I am back at that same freaking bar, right? Drinking again, and the whole movie fell apart. And I spent 2 weeks going into a deep darkness of wine. I came back and I went to Rhythmia from there, and I sat with the Yahe, and I had the most insane death in the medicine, which is what happens because you're letting go of parts of you that aren't serving you anymore. And I had the biggest purge ever, and I could see like the spirit of alcohol coming out. And from that moment on, I never have ever even thought about anything like that. It was incredible.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. You gave me chills.
It was
As someone in the public eye, how has your transformation affected your relationships, your work in Hollywood, and your role as a public advocating for this path?
It's crazy, Zen, because I didn't. Nobody's known that really. I mean, I put it on my Instagram, but I don't know how many people in the business of follow my on my Instagram. And when I went in there in May 2019, I was uninsurable. I was only getting the darkest roles and on the bootleg movies. Nothing, it was nothing. There was no career. My phone had stopped ringing a long time ago. It was a liability. And then I started doing this work, this healing, and the medicine said, "Don't worry about the external life. I'll take care of all that." Right. And then as time has gone on, without any kind of me reaching out or agents or anything like that, I started to get calls now. I started to get calls from huge cash registers. I started getting meetings with meetings again. And this was all without any kind of, so nobody knows, but yet that the universal how it works, right? The universal method, that my energy has now risen to the place where I have hit that place where these calls are coming. It's crazy.
Now, let's talk about the future, right? So psychedelic assisted therapy is on track to become a $10.7 billion industry by 2027. But as we scale, how do we protect the sacredness of this work? That's the question. How do we ensure it doesn't just become another commodified wellness trend, right? So for someone listening right now, maybe they're struggling, maybe they've lost hope. What would you say to them about this path, and what's the first step they should take?
I would say no matter what medicine they're going to use, do your research, number one, right? Because like everything else in life, there's a dark and a light to all of this, right? I was under the misconception because the medicine is so healing and so beautiful that how could anybody use it for the other side? And they do, right? They do use it for the other side. Do your research. And you have to have the willingness, right? There has to be a willingness. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get the full benefits. You can go in without that and still get great benefits. And anytime you use plant medicine, it's gonna heal, like no matter what that looks like. But also, you should definitely use it with the sacredness of if you can work with indigenous, it's always the best, right? Because it's in their lineage. My only fear is that it will it become too sterile, right? It'll just be like, and a lot of the psychiatrists and psychologists that are getting into this now have never even done it. And that's just, to me, is like, make sure that who you're working with has worked with the medicine.
Yeah. To piggyback off of what you're saying, it's not your conventional physician that's going to assist you on your ayahuasca or your psilocybin trip and know what to do, because to your point, they are medical providers, not the indigenous, right? Where this is part of who they are. It's embedded in their DNA. They've been doing this for hundreds and hundreds of years. They didn't invent this. They just literally helped us rewrite our own narrative by using this as a modality to help us heal. They've been doing this for centuries, right? So this is extremely enlightening. And Johnny, your journey is more than a comeback. It's a rebirth. It's a rebirth.
That's right. It's a full rebirth. And the Yahe, the medicine is the one that I am used the most and is most connected to. It's the lineage is 5,000 years old. It's the Colombian thing. And if you think about it, there's a vine and a leaf in the Amazon that they don't grow next to each other. And there's 100,000 different plant species. So if you don't have any kind of understanding of God or the universe or whatever, I mean, they would still be trying to make these to figure out what works with what. There's, if you tried every kind of experiment possible, you'd still be working on that. I mean, so the medicine was brought to them by God to connect to God.
I love it. I love it. Well, we are at the end of this conversation. I thank you so much for coming on, for being open, for being honest and transparent and sharing your story with me. It's truly remarkable.
Thank you so much, Zen. And listen, if you are struggling out there, there's hope, I promise, and my life has never been better. And I'm more humble and gracious for all of it. So
to learn more about Johnny's work and the Rhythmia Life Advancement Center, visit rhythmia.com, and you can check out Johnny on the gram at Messner777. That's Messner777. And remember, healing is not a luxury. It's your birthright. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and stay beautiful. This is the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.